Good afternoon and welcome to the Chartreuse Leprechaun. My name is Mark, your host, and today, well, we're going to play a bit of a one-off. This is called Democracy 3. It came out back around 2013, but with Democracy 4 currently in alpha, due out maybe this year, according to the Positech website, I thought it'd be fun to dust this off. We needed a one-off to get us through to the next Subnautica episode, and I thought this might be a little bit fun. So it's educational anyway. We've got the American elections coming up in a couple of months. They're still, well, theoretically in a couple of months, they're still dickering about how they're going to do that and when, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But we're going to start a new game. You can tell we've got all the DLCs, or most of the DLCs, I guess, already installed for this. There's electioneering, there's clones and drones, there's extremism, there's social engineering, so yeah. Now, bear in mind that whatever numbers you look at and when you're seeing all of this is based on 2012 or 2013 census numbers, so all of it's outdated, but it'll give you an insight into a little bit more of the political process and what gets involved. It's not as easy as people think, although this game is not that hard to beat. I've spent like 30 hours in it, and I've got 23 out of 42 Steam achievements, and most of those were by accident. I wasn't even trying. So because I'm in America, we're going to play as America. I don't understand the political process, elections, and so forth in so many other countries. I'm not going to pretend to. But we're going to take a look at the U.S. Now, gerrymanders constituents, invents the internet, compiles misleading statistics, posturing on foreign policy, patronizing the election, pandering to the media. I love the way this game does those. I hope they do that in the next one. So, now, click to return to government. So, here's the setup. You are now president. You have 316 million people in your hands. And as you will imagine, there are a number of situations and concerns you will need to deal with as soon as possible while keeping an eye on long-term improvement of your citizens' quality of life. I argue that both parties are more interested in maintaining their own quality and power as opposed to that of people, but that's I tend to view institutions in society, once something becomes institutionalized or a standard part of society, I tend to think it exists to maintain itself as opposed to improve things for others. Personal opinion, it's not a universal thing. It's just kind of how I think of things. So take that for what it's worth. Plus, do not forget that you face re-election in 4 years, so you need to monitor opinion polls, party membership, and so forth. So good luck. Now, with that in mind, we have a relatively low GDP. We have incredibly low health care. We have pretty good education, high unemployment, or higher unemployment. We have a high crime rate, and we'll call that midland poverty levels. So, let's start our term of office. This is, each turn is 3 months long, and each turn takes you closer to re-election. So in 16 turns, there's an election. If you win, you get to keep playing. Then you have various policy things. There's your security briefing, there's your opinion polls, there's your financial data, there's your new policies, there's your cabinet members, there's, options, and the political parties. So let's take a look at our cabinet real quick. You have 7 cabinet members. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 7. 1 for foreign policy, welfare, economy, taxes, public services, law and order, and transportation. Those are not the real cabinet members that you have in the U.S., but they'll do. The political capital, this is what we were talking about a moment ago, you get 25 political capital points per turn. You currently have 25. The political capital measures the amount of power you have within government. You need capital to implement or change policies depending on how controversial that policy is to the electorate. Political capital is calculated each turn, generated by your ministers. This one gives you 4.1, this is 4.9, 2.5, 3.3, and so forth. The more political capital they generate each turn, the more loyal they are. So you can tell right away you've got a couple of not very loyal cabinet members. 2.5, 3.2. The 3s aren't necessarily bad. The 2 is worrisome. And then it tells you about each cabinet member. So your Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Bobby Gray, his desired jobs are economy, tax, and foreign policy. He generates 4 points of political capital a turn. He's highly loyal. He's kind of experienced. He's relatively effective at campaigning, which in the U.S. is pretty important. And his sympathies are the religious and the capitalist. So he's fairly effective, and he's really good at campaigning. Sorry, I misread those 2 lines. And if I fire him, it costs 6 political capital. So let's take a look at Marie Brown, our Minister for Industry. Her primaries are economy, taxes, and welfare. Her loyalty is middle of the road. Her experience is pretty much non-existent. Her effectiveness is low. Her campaigning ability is low. And she's going to cost 3 political capital if I go to replace her. So next we have the game map. So anything you highlight is going to show red things that bring it down and green things that take it up. Doesn't matter what it is. So if I want to look at state pensions, that is affected, that positively affects the retired and the poor, negatively affects the capitalists, poverty, and private pensions. So you can see where that's going. And let's go, what is this one? Poor earnings, positively affected by food stamps, unemployment benefits, positively affected by air travel, rail subsidies, plus, I don't understand some of these, legal aid, school vouchers, I do understand. It negatively impacts private housing, wages, food prices, and income and sales tax. That's a revenue to the state. Because you're paying it out, you don't get it back. Anyway, you get the idea. So what you have to do is figure out, I need to, what do we have? We had high crime, which is over here. Yeah, law and order. So, and you can see all the red dots. So basically you want to keep everything blue or green. Red is not good. Alcohol abuse is high, and it negatively affects the police and health. Positively affects, in other words, raises crime, unemployment, alcohol consumption, and poverty. These are generalizations that apply in pretty much any society. So not completely universal and not completely correct, but you get the idea. Oil supply negatively affects oil, or has a direct impact on oil price. Oil supply goes down, price goes up. Oil supply goes up, price goes down. Again, it's the simplistic market economy type models that are in here, but it factors in all kinds of different variables here. So, if we want to, I'm looking for popularity is low. It's not going to tell me what's going to change that. Okay, so what I have to do is affect the orange and the red. So if I want to make liberals happy, look at that. Gated communities need to go away. Military spending needs to go down. Limited automated trading, that's stock market stuff. Homelessness needs to go down, and so forth. So if I want to positively affect my view, the view of me and my administration by the liberals, then I need to affect these things. So I would reduce prisons. I would, you get the idea. So, new policies. These are policy suggestions. What this would have a 100% popularity with voters. Interesting. I wasn't aware that, well, anyway. So I can impose tariffs. Imports damage the local economy, so if I force the prices up by imposing tariffs, everybody feels better. Not necessarily true, and not necessarily universally a correct thing to do, but you can do it. International fusion research, nobody cares. Pretty simple. Nobody cares about this. Participate in nuclear fusion research internationally, an engineering project with the goal of creating commercially viable fusion power. So we currently use fission, which is the crashing of atoms together. Fusion is completely different, much safer, more efficient. It's expensive though, so good or bad. Farm acquisition program, very unpopular with voters. Okay, 35% of voters think this is a good idea. Not a good thing. Have to acquire fertile land, stabilize food supply. Foreign affairs brokers deals with developing nations. Expenses support nations stuck in poverty while the crops we grow. Basically, it's a subsidy in other countries for farms. The left sees it as colonialism, pure and simple. Tourism ad campaign, neutral. It would bring in more money, but is it worth the expense? So, I keep forgetting. Each one of these tells you what it's going to cost in political capital. So there's only so much of this you can do every quarter. Let's back up. Import tariff. Despite the fact that everybody loves it, it's going to cost me political capital of 13. Whereas the tourism ad campaign, which only half the voters like, is only going to cost me 2. So 1.6 to 3 billion versus 1 to 2.5 billion. I round. Anyway, diplomatic service. This increases the scope of your diplomatic service in other countries. It will boost foreign relations. Not highly popular. Moderately expensive, I want to say, for lack of a better way to put it. And we have national service. This would be the draft. Strangely enough, it's highly popular, but it's going to cost a lot of political capital to put together, and it's going to be very expensive. The Drone Strike Act. Global terrorism threatens the country. Drone strikes on foreign grounds are a safe way to prevent terror. A lot of people like it. It's also very expensive, up to $47 billion. I'm not quite sure where they get their numbers, but it's interesting. Those are just the foreign policy ideas. So we can look at this and child benefits, fixed payment by the state directly to parents to assist in bringing up children. Popular with parents, capitalists are opposed, unnecessary interference by government, standard arguments. It's roughly 50-60% popular. It's also highly expensive. Political capital's not so bad. Child care provision, giving state subsidies for child care, ensure more parents return to the workforce, and so forth. Not really popular. Moderately expensive, well, actually pretty expensive in political capital. Also fairly expensive at up to $77 billion. You can see where all this is going, and you have to balance all this out with taxes. What are you going to do to get money in? Graduate tax is a desviated tax levied purely on people graduating from university. So if you go to college and graduate, you pay a special tax. And strangely enough, it's actually popular, relatively. Luxury goods tax, pretty popular. It would bring in up to $179 billion, which would pay for a bunch of our foreign policy initiatives if we actually did them, and so on and so forth. The married tax allowance, highly popular. Tax break for married couples and encouragement for people to marry and also stick together. Conservatives would like this. Church groups see it as essential. The state encourages family values. Some see it as religion meddling in the tax system. But the popularity is 100%. Nothing is 100%. We all know that. Potential income is none. Potential costs are $70 billion. Microgeneration grants, it's money out. It's highly popular. Subsidize the cost of energy generation systems like solar panels, wind turbines, and so forth. Plastic bag tax, junk food tax, health food subsidies, enterprise investment scheme, recreational drugs tax, basically legalize it and then tax it. It would make the liberals happy by legalizing the drugs. It would make conservatives happy by raising taxes on something they don't view as essential. Internet currency tax, automation tax, punitive wealth tax. Let's tax the rich. Short version. And then you have other things that nobody really wants. We have a mansion tax. We have mortgage tax relief. We have, and these are all, by the way, when they're red, they're outside your political capital range. So you can't implement those. So we look at all that, and where were we? New policies. Then we had the ministry. Then we had, what was this one? The parties. Yeah, go away. Political parties. This is the opposition. This is us. So, yeah, at the moment, the Democrats, the opposition, have a much higher projected voter turnout. Activist boost is about the same, but they get a lot more. The membership is about the same, but they get a lot more action from their activists than the conservatives or the Republicans do in this particular case. This is how people perceive you. Currently, you're viewed as moderately, middle-of-the-road trustworthy. Nobody's really sure what to do with you. They're not sure if you're compassionate or not, but they do think you are sort of a strong leader. So, yeah, and you can do things that will improve these, like a media stunt or a PR event of some kind, if you so desire. So, that's what all is in this game. So, let's see what we can do. Let's pick something and see if we can make it change. Let's look at law enforcement. Let's come back up here to opinion polls, financial data. Which one was it? There it is, new policies. So, law and order. So, let's take a look at community policing. Working with the community rather than attempting to control it. This would be big today, given the political climate in America. To better understand needs of the local community, and especially in areas with ethnic minorities, critics see it as expensive, and money could be spent on more direct methods to cut crime. In other words, more cops. This, interestingly enough, has very low political capital. It is kind of expensive, but we're going to go ahead and implement that because it's highly popular. We'll implement that one. And popularity, implementation, delays. Maximum time it takes for this policy to be implemented or changed from one to another. So once you implement it, it's going to be a little bit before it actually takes place. And then we get to estimate what our cost is going to be. Controls the intensity of the policy. How much money are you putting into it to make this happen? We've got it roughly in the middle, so I think we'll leave it there. And we'll go ahead and implement the policy. And you'll notice our political capital has now gone down by 1. Let's come back over here to law and order. Prevents citizens from being discriminated against purely on the basis of race. Political capital is minimal. Cost is minimal. It's roughly 50% popular with voters, 40, which is good. This is primarily going to influence the liberals. Remember that. Conservatives, they will be influenced, but not as highly. So we'll go ahead and implement that one too, and we'll actually put a little bit more money into that. Yeah, we'll go there. Buy changes. There we go. So we've spent barely any capital. Ethnic minorities, Race Discrimination Act. That was actually a good thing, but it's not a big driver. So what we want to look at is racial tension. What drives that? Let's see. Vigilante mobs, community policing, which we already did, race discrimination, which we did, violent crime, which should be influenced by those? Yes? No. Interesting. So, violent crime is not influenced by race relations, but it is... No, that's the wrong one. That's the one. It's influenced by community policing, not influenced by vigilante mobs? Really? Hard to believe that vigilante mobs have no effect on violent crime. Isn't that like the definition of a vigilante mob? Well, that's interesting. Alright, so what else can we do here? We need to implement new policies. So we did a little bit on Law and Order, and we spent a lot of money, so we need to bring some money back in. So how about a luxury goods tax, which is moderately popular, and will bring in a fair chunk of what we've just spent. But it has a high political capital cost, so let's see. You know what? We're going to go with it, and it's 91 billion. Taxes are always something you should implement low and either raise or lower theory, as I recall from college. So we'll start there. And that should actually, those three things should actually improve my capital with liberals. And I think we are going to call that a turn. We spent a lot of time lining up retirement directorships, fiddling ministerial expenses, misinforming the electorate. Yeah, politicians definitely do a lot of that, don't they? So, let's see what happens here. Not a whole lot of change. Quarterly report, here's a summary of current affairs. Ban alcohol advertisements. These are, I believe, things that you can do. Urgent policy question that requires immediate attention. We'll get to that. Economic forecast. The economy is doing well. This is having a positive effect on the GDP. This is good. So the economy is rocking along nicely. Government is not popular. 36% intend to vote for you. Only 36% intend to vote for you in the next election. Well, that's interesting because a little bit ago it said I had a 7% popularity rating. How about that? International credit agencies rate our government as triple B. A bad sign. Yeah. The pushing up the interest rate we pay on debt, and we must address this. So, in other words, we have to deal with the debt and the deficit. Loyalty of our ministers can best be described as loyal. Effectiveness is generally described as passable. So they're doing a job, but yeah. So let's see what this policy thing is. Ban alcohol advertisements. There's a proposal for a law to outlaw the advertising of alcohol on television. It would remain legal to advertise on radio, billboards, and anything else. The TV ban is seen as potential to reduce alcohol intake by our citizens. This law is rejected. This law is crazy. Do you have a ban on a product or you do not? Alcohol is perfectly legal, enjoyed by millions. Banning advertising of a product on a particular medium is a token gesture for anti-alcohol zealots. Approve the ban. It might stop alcoholism overnight. No, it will not. But a TV ad ban is a step in the... Oh, it won't. Okay, I misread that. It will not stop it overnight, but it might be a step in the right direction. Advertisers have been increasingly aggressive in their advertising with a worrying tendency toward making their products for the youth market. Anything we can do to reduce alcohol consumption is worth trying. These are not easy decisions. I remember in the U.S., I don't know how it was anywhere else, there used to be a lot of cigarette advertising, and the pushback on the ban for that was incredible among citizens, not just the lobbying groups that work for the cigarette manufacturers. I'm actually going to reject this because I do think it's kind of silly. I'm probably a little more conservative in my views than liberal, but I think that's kind of silly. So we're going to deal with that, and You can, by the way, click on all of these and it will give you a report on what's going on. We're going to just move on back to the game. And our deficit came down. It's only 662 million. It was, I think, a billion something before, so we have a positive impact. The economy probably brought in more taxes. That's the financial report. Oops, nope, wrong report. Where's the financial report? Oh, there it is. Charts. Green was income. Income went up. This is good. Global economy stayed flat. That's the important part. Our debt remained relatively unchanged. Relative GDP actually went down a little bit. So not sure what they're talking about the economy booming, because that definitely does not portray that. But let's look at policy ideas and see what we can do. Well, actually, wait a minute. Let's come back here. So last quarter, we dealt with some things that should positively impact. You see the green arrows, the socialists, the liberals, and the ethnic minorities actually have an improved view of us. It's not massive. It will hopefully grow over time. I say that as a conservative who wants to be reelected, wants to be popular, all of that. I cannot, on the other hand, set all of my policies to be those that deal with only those that don't like me. Big shock. Oh, missed that. There is a red arrow on the wealthy, so they weren't happy with my luxury tax. Yeah, so oops, wrong button. Let's go back to policy ideas. And in foreign policy, tariffs are, the popularity for tariffs went down. How about that? Interesting. Because remember, it was 100%, and now it's not so popular. It's also incredibly expensive in terms of political capital. And by the way, you'll note I've got 33 points now because I had 8 left at the end of last turn. It does add up. So let's look at the economy real quick. One of the things this game likes to do is crash your economy in a couple of turns. So we need to see what we can do. Maternity leave, incredibly popular, doesn't cost anything in terms of money, so it's budget neutral. Budget neutral is always a good thing, but it is expensive in political capital. So consumer rights, not going to be popular with conservatives, which is my base constituency. Relatively popular with voters. So let's see here. What else we got? Tax shelters. Oh yeah, that would make my constituents happy. By not fully taxing the wealth of the super rich, tax shelters can be a great way to encourage successful entrepreneurs. And with the ever-shrinking world, the rich are free to settle wherever they please, encouraging them. Such measures can be unpopular with the poor who resent paying taxes. So, yeah, if we create the tax shelters, the rich want to stay in the country. If we don't, they may want to leave. But if we pander to the rich, we make the poor unhappy. So, fantastic example of that. Let's see. Good Lord, I had no idea that list was so long. So, clean energy subsidies. Political capital is 2. Expense of 20 billion. So if I spend that, we'll say 10 billion, we'll leave it in the middle. I got to find 10 billion in revenue somewhere. So, so airline tax. Airline fuel is generally not subject to taxation. How many of you knew that? Supporters of air fuel taxes insist this results in unfair subsidy on an environmentally destructive form of transportation. Airlines point out that taxing new fuel will just encourage them to refuel somewhere else. diverting funds from our economy. So if we put this tax in, we could generate up to $60 billion. It's going to cost almost all my political capital to make it happen. This would be popular with probably liberals and incredibly unpopular with conservatives. Alcohol tax. Now, we just refused to ban the advertising of alcohol. Taxing it is not, it has no popularity. So, but it would cost all of my political capital again. So that would be an offset to, we're going to allow the advertising, but we're going to tax this product. So it has potential. Just because I can, we're going to do that. And we're going to generate 50 billion. Yeah, we'll go with 50 billion. We'll leave that one right in the middle at about 38%. Ooh. The feds are going to get 38% of that. Poverty goes down. Oh, I forgot. This tells you this is not popular with the poor. It will have a positive effect on poverty. It will lower the effect on equality. That's interesting. And it will reduce alcohol consumption. So alcohol consumption affects crime. The equality affects crime. Poverty affects crime. And so forth. So you can see kind of how this works. So we are going to, actually, we're not going to set it that high. We're going to set it at about, let's say 20%. We'll generate almost 30 billion in revenue. But this is going to be the only thing we get done this quarter. So let's go ahead and do that. So here's a summary, and poverty improved. This is good. Debt protection law, urgent policy question. Debt collection agencies have been in the news because of aggressive methods. Yeah, that's no surprise. They're using those methods to get extra payments, large sums of money. These debt collection agencies provide credit to people who larger, more respectful companies will not lend money to. Laws proposed to limit the ways such agencies can operate. Companies here in the U.S. that will loan you money on a weekly basis, and if you work out the interest rate that they charge on a weekly basis, it works out to be something like somewhere around 40% is the low end from what I've heard. I've never actually worked this out, but I've read several articles on it. So what this, and there are some states that these credit agencies, for lack of, I'll use this one, what they're saying here. There are some states these companies will not operate in because they have set laws up that do not allow it. There's, aside from the usury interest rate, which is incredibly excessive, short-term interest is always higher, by the way. The shorter the term, the higher the interest you're going to pay. The interest rate, that is. So do these actually serve a valuable place in society? Now, I've used these places once or twice, and it's helped. It was difficult to pay them off because of this financial situation we were in at the time. We were able to do it and move on. Some people aren't, and they get trapped in that. So I personally don't like limiting the free market much. But this is one I can definitely see myself agreeing with limiting. Good news, the economy is doing well, having a positive effect. Government is not popular, only 39%. I think that went up. We're still BBB credit rating. Security briefing. The Church of Christ are holding town hall meetings to express their anger at the current government. Oh, conservatives don't like me. What have we managed to do? We made the liberals more happy. We didn't have a positive effect on anything else, though. Interesting. Or at least not this quarter. But you'll notice the liberal perception of me or happiness with me has gone up. Fortunately, nothing's gone down. I haven't upset the conservatives too badly yet. But it is time to do something that makes them happy because they are my constituency group. So let's take a look at the correct button here. That I did it again. I want the light bulb. There we go. So the economy. Actually, let's look at tax. No. Come on. There we go. Tax shelters. We're going to make our people relatively... Actually, no. I want to go back and I want to look at... Hey, I've got a $32 billion surplus. This is good. That's cool. All right. So we're gaining ground on that, which is lowering the debt, which will make all our creditors happy. And I want to go back to the economy, and I want to look at tax shelters. Now, this will upset the liberals. It will make the rich happy, and it will cost us about half of that budget surplus that we've got going on. But we're not going to do it that big. We're going to keep it down towards the bottom. We've got 28 in political capital because we had 3 left and we generated 25. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. Popularity with voters is pretty high. And it's going to make the wealthy happy. It's going to make the socialists unhappy. It's going to make the equality people unhappy. The capitalists, the high earners. It will have a positive effect on the GDP. It will minimal effect on foreign relations, and technological advantage will go up, which presumably, I'm assuming it's taking the stance that it will increase investment in technology, which is actually a good thing. Yeah, so we're going to lower that from wherever it was down to generate just under $5 billion a year. And we'll apply that, and we still have 15 in political capital, so that'll make my base happy. Let's see if we can do anything for public services. Let's see. Yeah, let's go on a healthy eating campaign. Costs us next to nothing, makes popular about half the voters. It will positively affect health, negatively affect obesity. Excuse me. And we're going to spend right at, we'll say, $1 billion a year. Yeah, we'll do that. And yeah, we'll go with that. And we still got 13. So we did something that's very popular with conservatives. We did something that's moderately popular primarily with liberals. You know, as I said, it's all a balancing act. It's all about what I can do to keep both sides happy and to get reelected. Let's see here. Taxes, public services we did. Transportation. Bus lanes, bus subsidies, current car emissions, setting legal limits on exhaust, can cost up to $1 billion. It's 50% popular, will cost me all of my political capital. Telecommuting initiative. That is highly popular. Well, I think I can do that. Let's see what that does here. We get commuters happy. Commuter membership goes down. Car usage goes down. That's a good thing. Parents are happy. Trade unions are happy. Interesting. Okay, so we're not going to spend $7 billion. We'll spend, call it $3.5 billion. Close enough. And we'll do that. And we're still left with capital. And I think we're still left with a budget surplus too. So we will call that a turn. Unchanged. He's down a little bit. She's okay, so they're unchanged. My guy on taxes is generating less political capital. He's with motorists and with liberals, which were on the increase last turn. Okay. Let's see how we're doing here. Socialists went down. Everybody else, the wealthy went up. The poor went up. And popularity with 2 groups went up, but 1 went down, and the rest remained unchanged. Okay, that's a good thing. So, still got all those red bubbles though. What do we got here? What is this? Pollution. The environment. What works that? Oh my. Pollution controls, hybrid cars, asthma, car usage, air travel, tourism, and GDP. Okay. Well, what is that one? Housing? Homelessness. Okay. Okay. So, let's look at welfare. State housing. Prefer to own their own homes. The cost of housing is such that a large proportion of the population live in rents. State housing is provided at a reduced rate to those who cannot afford to pay the market rate. This can be expensive to fund. Social benefits are also significant. This can cost $200 billion. Yeah, welfare fraud, that would make the conservatives happy. Rent controls would make the liberals happy. 4. Welfare fraud is 8. Okay. Potential income is $490 million. Rent controls is $288 million. That is a positive budget. Okay. I think we're going to do both of those. Conservatives happy, middle income happy, poor not happy, compassionate not happy. All right. And we'll spend $3 billion at it. Why not? And then we'll come back up here. And what did we say? The rent controls. That was it. Not really all that popular. Also not very expensive. So that will lower poverty, keep the socialists happy, not make the capitalist happy. Private housing will go down. Poor earnings will go up. Capitalist income, yeah, okay. But we're going to do it anyway. Just as you can tell, I'm not really playing this game to be one side or the other. I'm showing you how to play both sides against the other, which is what politicians do. This is a very basic, bare bones tutorial on how all of this works. Don't take this as a universal way to make this happen. Let's see, we did welfare? Yeah, we did welfare. What public services? Health education subsidies. Raise the education level of the workforce. That would make industry happy, and it would make, I believe it would be a liberal agenda item, so we're going to go there, and we're going to, education would go up, productivity would go up, skill shortage would go down. That's a net positive for the GDP. We're going to spend $5 billion to do that. And still got lots of capital, political capital. So we're generating a positive there, which is good, because some of this stuff that's coming up is going to be incredibly expensive for political reasons. So let's go back to Law and Order. Really? National Armed Forces Week. Hey, let's celebrate the military for a week, and that's going to cost $2 billion? Wow. Interesting. Let's see. Public tax returns. Some wealthy people in our society avoid taxes with illegal methods. By making tax returns public, everyone can now check if someone is using loopholes. Definitely disagree with that. I don't think that is a good idea. That's an outsource. It's interesting. A junk food tax would cost, we'll say, $120 million to implement and generate expected $2 billion, but nobody likes this idea. So that's a bad plan. 40% on plastic bags. Interesting. Cost 170, but could generate $1.5 billion. Yeah, why not? We want to, come on, trying to get to 150. Yeah, we'll call that 150 and a half, and it generates 387. So we get $2 for every one we spend. Not bad. And environmentalists happy, capitalists unhappy. My direct constituency group doesn't like this. I'm going to do it anyway. And we'll call that a turn. Let's see what happens this time. Down. Poverty is down. Everything else is unaffected. Okay. Triple B. Human Rights Society still criticizing us. Good news. The economy's doing well. 43% popularity. Cabinet report is loyal and adequate. So they're getting better. They were passable. Now they're adequate in terms of effectiveness. Well, that's good news. So let's see. Criminalize child labor, make speeches about how children should be in school. But unless we back our words with legislation, the threat of criminal action, our children will continue to skip school to earn money. That's a new one. Child labor has some pretty serious laws on that here in the U.S. Now, it doesn't stop people from illegally doing it and maybe raising penalties. I don't know. Must back this law for the sake of the children. Leave it unchanged. The law is unnecessary. Children who are skipping school unlikely to be those who pay attention in class. Anyway, this is a really stupid argument. Apparently, this game doesn't understand the child labor laws in the U.S. as they exist. Well, even, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, can factor in game development. So, the law is currently very weak with regards employing under 16 in full-time positions. That's not allowed in the U.S. Hasn't been for a long time, actually. So yeah, we'll go with that, which will make the liberals happy and probably conservatives unhappy if we follow the game concept there. So we had no change. Oh, the capitalists are less happy with me. All right, so I need to do something to make the capitalists happy because they are my direct constituency group. So taxes, economy, oil drilling subsidies would work, but in terms of keeping them happy, but it has zero popularity. Foreign investor tax breaks, still no popularity. Robotics research grants, mildly popular. Rare earth metal mining, really. Cost me everything in political capital. Let's see what that does. That would make capitalists happy, the pollution people happy, technology happy, patriots happy, productivity happy, but the environmentalists would be mad at me. I don't see a downside, other than it's incredibly expensive at $114 billion. But you know what? We're going to go ahead and do that. And it's the law is taking doing selected sites instead of like anywhere. So the probably have to, I assume, apply for permits and do all of that fun stuff. But that cost me all of my political capital this turn, so I am going to go ahead and move on with it. Let's see here. So we've got deficit of $95 billion. So we got to do something to generate some cash. So we're going to go to taxes. That import tariff thing is looking good, but $95 billion, yeah, we need to Airline tax, graduate tax, internet tax. Not very popular. Married tax allowance, microgeneration grants, mansion tax. Get $79 billion out of that. Really? Who would that upset? Pretty much everybody, right? The wealthy would be mad. The retired would sort of be mad. Equality would improve. Socialists would be happy, and the middle income would not be happy. Interesting. So, economy. Business startup would spend more money, spend more money, spend more money. So, not the best of ideas. Taxes. What? I don't have the political capital to do some of this stuff. Oh, fantastic. Okay. Yeah, you can see how quickly this comes back to haunt you in some ways. Those are all expenses. All expenses. Witness protection. I could do it. What does that do? Violent crime goes down. Well, violent crime affects everything, if I remember correctly. Violent crime is this one? Nope. That one. So, alcohol consumption, racial tension, education, tourism, and everybody. So, theoretically, that would make people happy. Where did that one go? I swear it was right here, and I had the political capital to make that work. What just happened? What? Law and order. Now I'm confused. Did it implement that? I think it did. Oh. Well, okay, I guess we're moving on. Uncompetitive economy. Situation is now at an end. We had an uncompetitive economy? What? Earlier problem, lack of competitiveness by our companies has now subsided. Okay. International credit, double B, okay. Human Rights Society says it actively encourages its members to oppose the current government. Oh, fun. Rubbish tip. Green protesters have staged a noisy protest at a landfill site, one of our cities. Local people are also angry at the placement of the site. Campaigners say the government needs to do more to encourage recycling, reduce waste, and they want... Okay, so... Alright. GDP went up. This is good. Okay. So... Capitalists are a little bit more happy. Everything else is unchanged. All right. So, what am I looking for here? Financial data, opinion polls. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Interesting. Policies. Okay. Popularity, 78%. Gated. Race discrimination, 60. What's the negatives? Limit automated trading, property tax, inheritance tax, technology, income tax, alcohol tax. Okay. Changes. Health is up 5%, education's up 5%, crime's down 13%, violent crime is down 3%, poverty's down 1%. Nice. We've actually accomplished a lot of good things. Oil prices are down, private health care is down, private housing is down, traffic congestion is improved, alcohol consumption's improved. Interesting. Okay. good. Let's see here. We got 31 in political capital. Let's Indian polls policies. There we go. Let's see here. What can we do that would make people more happy? State pensions, citizenship test, narcotics, petrol tax. Really? Cancel policy. No, I don't want to do that. 3%. Environmentalists would be happy. Car usage would go down. If we raise it, motorist income, motorist membership. That is a core group for a couple of my ministers, so I need to keep them happy. So we're going to leave that alone. I need limited automated stock market trading exploits minute movements, short-term patterns, the market yielding to higher volatility and instability. Crashes can be prevented by limited the abilities of automated trading. Capitalists and wealthy profit most from automated trading. So, if we change this, it's going to reduce. Everybody in my core constituency group is not going to be happy. So we need to leave that alone to keep my people happy. Property taxes, prisoner tagging, no popularity. Yeah, big surprise. Alcohol tax, 0 popularity. And interestingly, I can raise this to generate more cash at no cost, and it's not high political. Interesting. Poverty improves. The number of poor goes down. Equality goes down. Alcohol consumption. Why does equality... What? That doesn't make sense. If we get rid of more alcohol abuse, theoretically, by raising the tax, which would then theoretically increase the health of the population, why would equality go down? Interesting. Leave that alone. Pollution controls, plastic bag tax, healthy eating, science funding. Improves technology, GDP. We'll raise that a little bit. We'll take that up to closest we can get to a round number. There we go, 51. And that costs us 6 to raise it, so confirm using capital. Yes, we're going to do that. Car tax. Car usage, middle income, motorists, environmentalists, farmers. Farmers are not happy with a car tax? Taxing motor vehicles, persuade people to use alternate transport, can be argued, increase fixed costs, urging people to use a car more once they've gone to the trouble of... Okay. Huh, interesting. So farmers would end up spending more because they buy these big machines and they drive them a lot. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Tax shelters, handgun laws. Really? No machine guns is what the law is now. Cost is $15 million. No automatics. I think I can go there. Oh, I don't have the capital for it. Never mind. I should have looked at that in the first place. Yep, I know. Go away. Police force, military spending. 19 to lower, 9 to raise. Oh my god. Well, we're going to tick off half of my constituency. We're going to go with highly trained as opposed to overwhelming force. Yeah, and you can see the slider bar, how that's going to affect everything. Unemployment gets better. The Patriots get less happy. State employees get less happy. State employee membership, I assume because the military size decreases. State employee income, okay, that goes down. Liberals are more happy. And my strong leadership goes in the tank. How about that? What does that go to? Goes from 3% to 2%. Okay, we'll do it anyway. Lower is 19 and I have 25, so that's going to be the only thing we do. And we're going to move on. Global recession, having a negative effect on GDP. All right, so it's going to be harder to maintain that surplus. Urgent internet tracking, increasing capability of large corporations to use customer databases and big data to analyze consumer behavior. Levy concerns about privacy. Companies insist data is anonymous, in many cases being used to purely provide a better service. Campaigners suggest big faceless corporations are creating Big Brother-style databases of consumers without their consent. All right, so there's a basic difference between, especially in Britain, based on what I've read and some analysts that I've read, there's a basic difference in how the U.S. and Britain and Europe, to an extent, view regulation. In Britain and in Europe, the view is that corporations should not have that information. In the U.S., the view is the government should not have that information. Privacy with respect to the government, it's changing a lot because corporations have the ability to do a lot more, but it's always been your personal information shouldn't be in the hands of businesses in Europe, and your personal information and habits and so forth shouldn't be in the hands of government in the U.S. And it probably has a lot to do with how the United States was actually formed, getting away from a foreign government. In other words, we want to be us. We don't want to be under your controls, and that kind of translates through. So I may be wrong on that, but I think I'm close. So here's the question. Are we going to ban tracking of what people do by corporations, or are we going to allow it? That is a tough question. And even corporations and government don't really know how to approach this one. I don't think either side does it well. Banning and allowing is heavy-handed either way. I know it's going to tick off my constituency groups, several of them, but I'm going to go ahead and ban that. I think corporations and government have way too much stuff. Well, our membership is still going up. Our popularity is going up. We get 60% of the vote. Our membership is growing at 23, but with 60% of the vote, we would win. So that's good. My ministers are loyal. Their effectiveness is fair. Public services. High political cost, low cost, but not popular. Interesting. Public libraries. You know what? I think we'll go down that road. What do we get here? We get education, equality, and retired. All like that. Okay. We're not, on the other hand, going to spend $10 billion. We'll spend 7. Okay. And global recession, fuel subsidy, alcohol awareness campaign. Yeah. Since we're fighting alcoholism and alcohol consumption, that would be a good thing to do. We're going to spend $1 billion on that. Why not? And I still have a lot of political capital. Well, transports. Ooh, that's expensive in dollars. My goodness. But it's pretty popular. So what does that actually do? Oil demand is down, motorists are up, CO2 is down, environmentalists are all happy, and it doesn't seem to tick off all of my constituency groups. So I can go with that. We'll spend 25 billion on it. Taxis. Oh, all the way here. I keep forgetting that right here it tells you, as you implement this at different cost levels, what does that mean in terms of what you're authorizing? So if we go here, it's currently saying taxis and public transportation. As we move up the scale, banned gas powered, it goes straight to banned gas powered cars. That's interesting. So that would tick off every core constituency group I've got. Industry, capitalism, all of that. So we're going to leave it at taxis and spend 32. No, we're not going to spend that much either. Yeah, I guess we are. Oh, there it is. We'll spend almost 28 billion. There we go. We'll do that. And that runs us far enough out of political capital. We're going to move on. So the work safety law, trade unions, union membership is happy, self-employed not, productivity down, health increases. Only 700 million. Yeah, we can do that, I suppose. Which leaves us 7 in political capital. What can we do to raise revenue? Automation tax, not very. Subsidies, that's fantastic. Okay, so. Oh, crud. No, we're okay. I was thinking I was on a page that would automatically implement a policy, and it doesn't. I'm going to leave that alone, and we're just going to move on. Making impossible promises, fudging unemployment numbers, pandering to the media. Oh, pandering to the media. It must be an election term. Achievement unlocked. What did I do? Been working away in your office so long that it's almost time to start the next day's work. That assumes politicians actually work. Oh my goodness. So, sweatshop scandal. Oh boy. Still rated double B. Still a global economy recession. 27 million members. The other guys still have more. Ooh, and I only get 51% of the vote. Well, that went down. That's not good. Sweatshop scandal. What's going on here? Might have thought they were found in less prosperous countries. Recent TV documentary brought the issue of local homegrown sweatshops to the public eye. Themes in Harvard companies making clothing, usual, literally paying slave wages. Large number of employees, especially ethnic minorities, is not going well. Trade unionists or the liberals. Big surprise there. Okay. So, doesn't tell me there's anything I need to do. All right, well, we'll move on. And 54 million in surplus. Okay, well, we're still winning. Per se. Let's see. We have homelessness, middle income drives that down. What can we do here? Poverty, value, intensity, costs 230 million. Okay. Effects. Income, crime, okay. Immigration, poverty, public housing, unemployment. Okay. So, homeless, unemployment benefits, property taxes, poverty, private housing, immigration, and crime. So, what happens if we health, racial tension, homelessness, unemployment, GDP, skills shortage? Okay. So, public services, university grants. That's expensive. Art subsidies, also expensive. Climate Change Adoption Fund. That's super expensive. Well, anything we do is going to have to... Oh, I know what I didn't look at. Is my ministers. How are we doing here? Foreign policy is at a 1. Ooh. 20. That's not good. Oh, something we didn't look at before. Capital per turn. How many capital expenditure points do you gain per turn? The maximum you can have in the bank is double whatever you're earning. So, in other words, you have to spend some. And you can only accumulate up to a certain point. Right now we've got 27 because we had a positive 7. We just got 20. So, he needs to talk. Political measures. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. So, his experience is great. His effectiveness is great. His loyalty is junk. He is with the religious and the capitalists. So... he's either going to quit or I'm going to have to fire him. Now, everybody else, well, Tax is not having a good day. Foreign policy. It's highly effective. It's loyalty because I'm not doing anything to help his core groups. So, political capital is 1 if I fire him, which is basically nothing in this deal. Let's see if we can do anything to improve his... there we go. Religious. Abortion law and creation evolution. Really? That's... oh, so understated. Alright. The religious and the capitalists. Yeah, they've come down a long way. Alright. We have an 83 billion surplus. Capital gains, investment, property tax, corporate tax. Get the right one? Yeah. So, 16%, which is nothing. I'm going to lower that to 12. Yeah, we'll do that, which cost us 10. Yep. That should help that a little bit. Capitalists, what else can we do? Technology grants, rent controls, pensions, clean subsidies, pollution, limited trading, luxury goods tax. And we'll lower that to... we'll take that to 28. Apply. Alright, so that should keep his base happy and also keep the guy with me. Oh, it made the trade unions happier. That's interesting. In the last quarter. So, we need to... where was the election side of this? That's achievements. That's parties, not what I'm looking for. That's cabinet. Opinion polls? Is that? No. Parties. Quarterly report. Was that it? Well, sort of. Campaign speeches available. Okay, here we go. So, your scriptwriter has prepared punchy slogans so you can go in your speech, and you must choose which ones to use, up to 4. They may polarize some voters for or against you. Choose carefully. Okay, so manifesto we don't have, speeches we have, fundraising. And perceptions. So I believe at this point I could do a media stunt that would make people think I'm better at this, that, or the other thing. They have a percentage rate of failure or success. So if I say I want to do a media stunt for this, to persuade voters that you have this trustworthy characteristic. Voters are basically flat on that, so let's do this. Chance of success, 75%, 81%, 50%. So, impact on perceptions varies. Capital cost also varies. Let's do something that has a incredibly high chance of success. Won't change perceptions a lot. It has low capital cost, but let's do that. Oh, apparently it helped. Good. Outstanding. That's a good one. So back to speeches. What happened? Oh, more capital is required than what I have. I spent it. Ha! How about that? But that improved our trustworthiness, which is a important thing in politics, right? Let's see what we got here. We have transportation, law and order, public services, Social Justice Foundation. What do we have here? Popular with liberals, costs about $1 billion. Yeah, let's do that. Which gives us 7 in political. Why is I have a question mark there? Climate change. Oh, I missed that. UN Climate Change Conference. A new protocol to limit emissions in industrialized countries. See, this is the problem. Most of these limits are applied to only certain countries. Nobody else has to abide by them. That's why I have a problem with it. I definitely agree that we need to clean up the environment, the air, the water, all of that. Ratifying the protocol could be costly, limiting growth and worker productivity. Experts claim it's the only way to save the environment. Do we want to ratify? We'll go ahead and do it. That just ticked off my core base. I know this, but it's a game, but you're still, or at least I still, more or less vote and want things that fit certain ideas with me. Let's see. Pro-abortion law. Pro-abortion law. Stronger emotions on pro-life side. Making any change to the state's position on abortion requires a hefty amount of capital, which I don't have. Implementation, popularity with voters. So changing this, limited circumstances, is incredibly popular. Huh, interesting. What does it allow you to do here? Doctor's approval. Oh, yeah. On demand. Okay, doctor's approval. Everybody's happy with where it's at. Well, in that case, I'm glad I won't change it. Confirm using capital. No. Cancel that. I don't... What? 7... Oh, raise or lower. Okay. Didn't change anything. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we'll go with it. Campaign speeches available. Come on, open the page. There we go. So, we have a chance to... Oh my. Alright, so this is what it tells us happens if we make a given speech. Who gets happy? Trade unionists, or a given quote rather. Self-employed don't like that one. It's interesting, the 3 downs are all, or 5 downs. There's no 3 ups. There's 5 3 downs. So I upset more people than I make happy. That's wild. Then I have 2 that will increase. I guess my group, conservatives, are happy with that one. Environmentalists are happy with that one. Interesting. Capitalists are happy with that one. Socialists are not happy. The retired versus the youth. All right. Well, give speech cost me 12 political capital. All right. So as you can see, the The speech went well. It followed the graph, and it shows, hey, this went all up. Conservatives are happy. They're 10% more happy than they were. Outstanding. So we made a speech. Yay, speeches. Now we need to get back to the business of government. Let's see. Racial tensions, conservatives, crime, vigilante mobs. So, crime, police force, racial tension, death penalty, effects, causes are those four things. And so, we click on that, we see that okay. So, let's go to Law and Order. Pardon me. And we've got a lot of political capital. The needle exchange program, obviously will think conservatives, my core group, will say that's a bad idea. And the liberals will say, oh, that's a good idea. One thinks it's enabling drug use. One thinks it's, fighting drug abuse. So, public services. Art subsidies. That's always a good one. Let's see here. We've got the political capital for it. It makes liberals happy, not capitalists. Interesting. Foreign relations improve, tourism improves, education improves, and unemployment, while it goes down, doesn't. Interesting. So, low budget movies, art subsidies, theaters, art galleries, opera house. And puppet shows. Okay. We're going to go with theaters. And that runs us completely out of capital, so we'll go on to the next turn. Let's take a look at Manifesto Promises. This is where you set your platform. What are you going to do in your next term? Optional, but they can boost support from voter groups. Pledges last until the end of the next term and will cause unpopularity if broken. So, oh yeah. Your election pledge has been announced, will have immediate effect on voter happiness. Okay. Raised it by 1%. Okay. And we'll deal with equality. And that did better. Interesting. All right. Speeches. Those both did cost some political capital, by the way. I think there were 3 each. So, we need capitalists go down, socialists go up, retired and youth, and trade unions, the self-employed. Who's that? Motorists. What's my capital cost on that one? It doesn't say. Ha. Well, does this help capitalists, socialists? I need to appeal to my base. 12. Ooh, that's hefty. Oh, each speech is 12? Oh, wait a minute. Give speech. Oh, those are expensive. All right. Yeah, we got to do it. Popularity went up 15% among capitalists, down 5% among socialists. So I appealed to my base. Even though my policies have been more liberal, my speeches keep speaking to my base, which energizes them, which makes them more likely to vote for me. So that is the nature of politics. Policy is one thing, your popularity is another. So anyway, turn that off, and we're out of political capital this turn, so we're making no changes. We're still running a budget surplus of $57 billion, kind of nice. And election. So let's see how we did. As many voters as there are. Well, I won re-election, so there we go. And turnout 57%, opposition turnout 53%. My activist boost was 7%, opponent boost was 1%. Perceptions were impacted. Remember what I said a moment ago about speeches and how they affect things? The perception matters. And it's also interesting that I spent a heck of a lot more money than the opposition did. So, yeah. So, and we can look at the breakdown. That was the count. This is the breakdown. Share of votes. I got a lot of the socialist vote. Wow, look at that. Parents, middle income, they split. Ethnic minorities split. Yeah. That's pretty overwhelming. I am surprised. That changes health and so forth. So, yeah. So now I get to start my next turn. Democratically elected for another term. Woohoo! Somehow I won. Yeah, I'm amazed too. Foreign Affairs Minister resigns. Yep. Antisocial behavior is now at an end. Unemployment. Ooh, that's nasty. GDP, crime. Okay, so there you have it. That is how you play the game, and I would continue on to the second turn, but I think we've watched enough. You've seen pretty much how this works. It's a fun little game from 7 years ago. I'm kind of anxious to see how Democracy 4 shapes up. As I said earlier, it's currently in alpha at Positech, so we'll see. It should be interesting. But on that note, thank you for stopping by here at the Chartreuse Leprechaun. We appreciate your time. Your time is valuable, and we're thankful that you chose to spend it with us. So with that, I will say goodbye. My name is Mark, your host, wishing you a great day, a great week, and we'll see you here next time on the Chartreuse Leprechaun. Bye-bye. Did I go the wrong way? I did. Oh, that's fun. I just went 900 meters in the wrong direction. That was where we wanted to go. Well, fantastic.